Everyone keeps talking about recession, recession, recession. Is a recession coming? How do I prepare for a recession? What should I do with my money before the recession hits? And look, I get it. Recessions are scary, but here's the thing. What's coming is actually worse than a recession. And the terrifying part, most Americans are preparing for the wrong crisis entirely. See, in a recession, you lose your job, the stock market crashes, housing prices fall, it's painful, but at least a dollar is still a dollar. You can hunker down, preserve your cash, and wait it out. But what's happening right now? Your dollar is dying, and I need to show you the math on why your $47,000 in savings might only have the purchasing power of $31,000 in 3 years, and that's a conservative estimate. Look, I get it. I know you're tired of doom and gloom financial content. Everyone's screaming about market crashes. Everyone's got a prediction. And honestly, most of it is garbage designed to get clicks. But here's what most people don't realize. We're not staring down a traditional economic cycle anymore. We're watching something fundamentally different unfold. And the scary part, most Americans are positioned exactly wrong for what's ahead. Let me show you what I mean with some numbers, because this is where it gets really interesting. In a normal recession, let's say 2008, if you lost your job, okay, that sucked massively. But a dollar was still roughly a dollar. If you had $50,000 saved, you had $50,000 of purchasing power. Your strategy was simple. Hunker down, preserve capital, wait for recovery, maybe pick up some cheap stocks. But right now, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and I'm using their official numbers, which actually understate the problem, the average American has lost 19% of their purchasing power since January 2021. That's just 4 years. So that $50,000 you saved, it buys what $40,500 bought 4 years ago. You didn't spend a penny and you lost nearly $10,000 in real terms. Now you might be thinking, okay, Brian, but inflation's coming down. The Fed's got this under control. We're going back to normal. No, we're not. And here's why. Let me show you a number that should terrify you. $36 trillion. That's the current US national debt. Now, you've heard big numbers before. They all kind of blur together. So let me make this concrete. Here's the thing about debt. It's got this nasty feature called interest. And right now, the United States is spending over $1.6 trillion per year just on interest payments. Not building roads, not funding schools, not defense, just interest. That's more than we spend on defense, more than we spend on Medicare. Think about that in terms of your own life. Imagine if you made $60,000 a year, but $16,000 of that before you paid for rent, food, anything, went straight to credit card interest. You'd be in a death spiral. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. The government has basically 3 options to deal with this. Option 1, they could cut spending massively. Look around. Does it seem like Congress is about to slash Social Security, Medicare, defense, and everything else by 30%? Not happening. Politically impossible. Option 2, they could raise taxes dramatically. And I mean dramatically, we're talking rates that would make the 1970s look tame. But here's the problem. According to the Congressional Budget Office's own projections, even if you raise the top tax rate to 70%, you still wouldn't close the gap. The math just doesn't work. Option 3, they print money. They keep interest rates lower than they should be. They buy their own debt through the Federal Reserve, and they slowly, or not so slowly, inflate away the debt. Now, which option do you think is the easiest politically? Which one can they do without passing a single law, without anyone voting on it, without massive protests? Yeah. Option 3, this is what most people don't realize. Inflation isn't a bug in the system right now. It's a feature. It's the only way out of this debt trap that doesn't involve either economic collapse or political suicide. Let me give you a concrete example. Let's say you're the government and you owe $36 trillion. If you can generate 6% inflation for just 5 years, you've effectively reduced the real value of that debt by about 26%. You just made $9 trillion of your debt disappear in real terms without defaulting, without explicitly taking anyone's money. But here's the cost. Everyone who saved money, everyone who's on a fixed income, everyone who planned for the future using historical assumptions, They just got robbed. Legally, silently. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but my salary will go up with inflation, right? I'll adjust. Look, here's the uncomfortable truth. For most people, their income lags inflation by years. Sometimes it never catches up. Let me show you why this time is different from the 1970s, which is the last time we had prolonged high inflation in the US. In the 1970s, about 27% of American workers were unionized. Unions had explicit cost of living adjustments built into contracts. Your pay was contractually obligated to rise with inflation. Plus, you could job hop easily to get raises. Unemployment was relatively low, workers had leverage. Today, union membership is around 10%. Most people have zero contractual protection against inflation. And here's the kicker. According to the Atlanta Fed's wage growth tracker, real wages, that means adjusted for inflation, have been negative or flat for most workers since 2021. Translation, you're working just as hard, probably harder, and you're getting poor. But it gets worse because the inflation you're experiencing isn't the inflation they're measuring. The official CPI says inflation is around 3 to 4% right now, but that's an average across all goods and services. Here's what's actually happened to the things you can't avoid. Rents, up 30% since 2020 in most major metros. Home prices, up 47% nationally since 2020. Car insurance, up 26% in just the last 2 years. Eggs, up 60%. Yeah, I know. Eggs are the meme, but it's real. Home insurance, up 34% in the last 3 years. See, the CPI includes things like electronics, which have gotten cheaper. Great. Your new TV costs less, but you know what you need more than a TV? Housing, food, transportation. The things you have to buy are inflating way faster than the official numbers. This is where it gets really interesting. The bottom 50% of earners spend about 75% of their income on these necessities: housing, food, transportation, healthcare. The top 10%, they spend maybe 35%. So when the Fed says inflation is only 3%, that's true if you're wealthy. If you're middle class or below, you're experiencing 8%, 10%, maybe 12% real inflation in your actual lived expenses. Here's a concrete example. Let's say you're making $65,000 a year. After taxes, you're taking home about $50,000. If your rent is $1,800 a month, that's $21,600 a year. Add in food at $600 a month, that's $7,200. Car payment and insurance, maybe $500 a month. That's $6,000. So we're at $34,800 already, and we haven't even talked about utilities, healthcare, student loans, or God forbid, entertainment. You've got maybe $15,000 left for everything else. Now, your rent goes up 10% the next year. That's $2,160 more per year. Your car insurance jumps $600. Food costs increase $720. You just lost $3,480 in purchasing power. But your salary, you got a 3% raise. That's $1,950 more. You're net negative $1,530, and that's with a raise. This is the trap. This is why it's worse than a recession. In a recession, you might lose your job, but prices often fall. You can tighten your belt, wait it out. In what's coming, in what's already here, you keep your job, you keep working, but you slowly, month by month, fall further behind. You can't save, you can't invest. You're running on a treadmill that's speeding up. Now, here's where the real danger comes in. And this is something that people who've only studied economics in textbooks completely miss: the psychological shift. When people realize that saving money is a losing game, that their dollars are melting away faster than they can earn them, human behavior changes in really predictable and really dangerous ways. Let me tell you about the Weimar Republic, Germany, early 1920s, hyperinflation. And here's what happened. People stopped saving entirely. Why would you? Money you saved on Monday was worth half as much by Friday. So instead, people spent immediately. They bought anything tangible: real estate, gold, art, furniture, anything that held value better than paper money. This created a feedback loop. More spending pushed prices up faster, which made people spend even more urgently. Now, I'm not saying we're going to Weimar levels, but I am saying the psychology is already shifting. Look at what's happening right now. Credit card debt just hit an all-time high of $1.13 trillion. Personal savings rate dropped to 3.4%, well below the historical average of 8%. Buy now, pay later usage is up 85% since 2020. People are making a rational calculation. If my money is losing value anyway, why not spend it? Why not finance that purchase? The debt I take on today will be easier to pay back with inflated dollars later. And they're not wrong. This is actually economically rational behavior in a high inflation environment. But here's the thing. This works until it doesn't. Until interest rates spike. Until you lose that income. Until the bills come due and you're trapped. There's this concept in behavioral economics called time preference. In stable times, people have low time preference. They're willing to delay gratification, save for the future, make long-term plans. But when the future becomes uncertain, when money is losing value, time preference shoots up. People focus on the now, they stop planning for retirement, they stop investing in education, they make short-term decisions because long-term planning feels pointless. This is how a society breaks down economically, not in a dramatic crash, though that can happen too, but in this slow, grinding way where everyone becomes short-term focused, where trust in institutions erodes, where social cohesion fractures. I've seen this in the data. According to a 2024 survey by Bankrate, only 44% of Americans now believe they'll be able to retire comfortably. That's down from 54% just 5 years ago. People are giving up on the future. And here's what most people don't realize. Once that psychology takes hold, it's incredibly hard to reverse. It becomes self-fulfilling. Now look, you're watching this video because you want to know what to do. And there are a lot of people out there selling you solutions. Buy gold. Buy crypto. Buy this stock. Cash is trash. Real estate is the only answer. And I'm going to be honest with you, some of these strategies have merit, but most people are implementing them wrong at the wrong time or for the wrong reasons. Let me give you an example. Everyone's piling into real estate right now. It's a hedge against inflation. And yes, historically, real estate has been a good inflation hedge, but here's the problem. When you buy real estate with a 7% mortgage in an environment where appreciation might be 4%, you're not actually getting ahead. You're paying 7% to own an asset, growing at 4%. The math doesn't work unless you're putting down massive cash, which most people don't have. Plus, property taxes are going up. Insurance is skyrocketing. Maintenance costs are inflating too. That hedge might actually be a trap. Or crypto. Yeah, Bitcoin has been a spectacular performer over the long term. But if you don't understand it, if you're buying it at all-time highs because you're panicking about dollars, you're not investing, you're gambling. And when you're gambling with money you can't afford to lose in an unstable economy, you're setting yourself up for a disaster. Here's the thing about all these solutions. They work for people who have capital, who have time, who have knowledge. If you're already wealthy, you can absolutely protect yourself from inflation. You can buy income-producing assets. You can diversify internationally. You can hire advisors. But if you're middle class, living paycheck to paycheck, trying to figure this out on your own, you're at a massive disadvantage. And the sad truth is, that's by design. Inflation is a regressive tax. It hurts the poor and middle class way more than it hurts the wealthy. Okay, so what do you actually do? Here's the reality. The old playbook doesn't work anymore. You can't save your way out of this in a traditional savings account. You're just losing purchasing power. 3 things you need to do today. 1, stop thinking in dollars, start thinking in purchasing power. Deploy capital beyond your emergency fund into productive assets, index funds, skills that increase your income, real estate if the math works. 2, increase your income aggressively. Ask for raises that match real inflation. Not 3%, but the 8 to 10% you're actually experiencing. Job hop if you have to. People who switch jobs get 15% bumps versus 3% raises. 3, develop skills that make you adaptable. The best inflation hedge isn't an investment, it's your ability to earn in any environment. This isn't some future crisis, you're already in it. Normal is gone. This isn't some future crisis, you're already in it. Normal is gone, but the people who see what's coming and act today will be okay. The people who wait, they're going to get crushed. So take action. Calculate your real savings rate. Identify one skill to develop. Deploy that capital. If this helped you, hit that like button and subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. I'll see you in the next one.